ATAC fans. In this video, I'll be covering how to georeference, or also called rubber sheeting, an image or a map. So when it's imported into ATAC as an overlay, it lands in the correct spot. You can see here how I have this map from CAL FIRE from the Fairview incident. It's Georeference, so it's geospatially correct and it lands in the right spot. I could come over here and look at this Diamond Valley Lake as an example. I click on the image overlay, and if I bring the opacity down, you can see that everything's lining up appropriately. So it's important to have these overlays, obviously, geo-referenced. So you may be thinking, when will I ever need to do this? I get these maps on these incidents, and they're already geo-referenced. Sometimes you may get maps and imagery from someone else, and you put them into ATAC, and there is no geospatial properties. At that point, they're just pictures. And here's a couple examples of how this could happen. The first scenario is the airborne imagery, for whatever reason, didn't get run through some photogrammetry software and get georeferenced. Or second is you have an abstract map that was not digitized using GIS software. These are usually like a map of trails in a park, or could be a layout of an apartment complex. There might be some sort of appropriate scale and orientation of the trails, for example, but they have no geospatial data in them. ATAC does have a plugin called Rubber Sheet. It does let you stretch an image and georeference it. It does work well with smaller areas, in my opinion, like an apartment complex layout. But for imagery or maps that are miles and miles long, I find moving to a computer using Google Earth much easier. In this scenario, I plan to use ATAC to navigate in an off-highway vehicle area. I have acquired a PDF map of the area. I load into ATAC, and it just came up as a document, telling me it was not georeferenced. So the area is in the jawbone area here. I've got the map zoomed in over the area. And another way I can tell it's not georeferenced is if I go to my image overlays, I notice there's nothing here. I hit show all. I turn on image overlays. I have 10 items showing all. I turn show all off. Nothing is listed in this area. Another way I can tell is if I go over to my data packages and I go down to the Jawbone Trail Map, it shows it's a PDF, but it doesn't show as an image overlay in the icon. It shows PDF. And if I click on it, it's going to open up as a PDF. So that's a telltale sign that this is a non-georeferenced PDF. Now we'll move over to my desktop and get it georeferenced. Now we have moved over to a desktop computer to use Google Earth to georeference the image. I'm using a Mac, but the same steps apply to Windows. The first thing I have to do is make sure the map or imagery I'm working with is in JPEG or PNG file type. Google Earth will not use a PDF. Since we start with a PDF, I need to convert it to JPEG. I'll open the map. I'm working with a Mac, so it's going to open up in preview. I'm going to hit File, Export, choose JPEG. It's going to put it on my desktop, and I'm going to make sure I got 300 pixels per inch as my resolution, so it looks good in ATAC. I'm going to hit Save, close it out, and we can see that it put it on my desktop. Now let's move over to Google Earth, and we're going to zoom into the area that we're interested in. I'll just type in Jawbone, California, the OHV area, search, and let Google Earth zoom into that area. All right, now Google Earth is done zooming in on this area. Let's zoom out and kind of show the whole area here. And a couple of things I want to show you down in the layers is make sure that terrain is turned off. That will help with Google Earth and rendering. Make sure you have roads turned on. You can see the roads are on now. That will help you with some control points. All right, so now let's add that JPEG to the map. We're going to go up to Add, image overlay, and we're going to browse to our desktop where that map is. And we're going to hit open, and it's going to drop the map in this area. All right, we can retitle this Jawbone ACEC Trail Map. One thing I want to show you while this is open is I can change the opacity here, which is going to help you with the control points. And then in each corner, you can see these are green, and at the ends, that's going to help you stretch the map. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And then you have this diamond here that can help you rotate it. Get back to center, and we're going to hit OK. We'll close out this Jawbone place marker right here. And on the left, you can see in my places that I've got this trail map as an image overlay. I'm going to turn it on and off, just like any of the other layers in Google Earth. In this video, I will show you two different ways to georeference the map. One with control points, and another is a trick if you have a printed scale bar on the map. Now, this map does have a printed scale bar, so we'll do it both ways. The first time will be with using control points only. So we've added this image onto the map. It is not currently georeferenced. And we're going to look at the map to see if there's any areas in there that are clearly definable that we could put into Google Earth. So if I look at this map, I can see that Highway 14 goes up and down here. And it looks like there's a junction to the right that is near the Jawbone BLM station. We can look at that one. And then as I scroll up along the 14, I can see that at Highway 178, I have another junction. So that'll be another great place to put a control point. Let's see if there's anything else that is kind of like a highway or road. I can see some of these roads in here. We'll look in Google Earth and see if any of these are labeled or not. And that's what you're trying to do, is find something that Google Earth might have on it, a water feature, something that would be on the map, and also in Google Earth. And so far, I'm just going to focus on those two areas. This kind of 14, where this road goes off the 14 near the Jawbone station, and at the 178 up here. All right, so next thing we're going to do is drop those control points. So I can just turn off the Jawbone map, and all right, here is the Jawbone station right here, and this area right here is where that road, Red Rock Randsburg Road, takes off. So let's drop a control point there, and we'll call it 14 and Red Rock, and let's move it right at that intersection. Hit OK, and we can see that's up in the left on our places. And now let's scroll back up north and look for that 178 junction. There's the 178 as it comes down, and let's put another place marker here. We'll call 178 and the 14. And let's drag that right over here. All right, we've got two place marks, called control points. We'll bring the map back kind of north. And now let's turn the map back on. The Jawbone map, and now you can really see that it's not georeferenced, right? Look how small the map is compared to how far apart these points are, and both of these points are on this map. So what I'm going to do is click on the map, click Get Info, and that's where we can drop the opacity, and then you see those. We'll zoom in here. Let's resize this. If you've got two monitors, you could drop this on another monitor. which I do, which I'll just kind of anchor it to the side here. Doing this on something with a large monitor is definitely helpful. Now I can also bring this full size. And now this is where you've got these highlighted corners. This is where you can stretch the map. And this is where, it can get fun and also frustrating. For every movement you make, either left, right, diagonal, will affect the map. And then the center one allows you to kind of move the map around. So if you remember, when we looked at the map, we were looking for this 14 and Red Rocks. That intersection is right here. So if I was to drag the map over, all right, but we can see clearly that this turn of this road is way up here. And so we need to stretch the map more, much more. The 178 marker is way up here. So let's go ahead and just start stretching the map. And we can see that the 14 freeway in Google Earth is over here, and the 14 freeway on the map is over here. So we need to bring this over here. And here is that 14 and 178. So we're not doing too bad there. We got to stretch this down actually. And this is where that rotate can come in. All right, and we need to rotate the map. We need to stretch the map a little bit out this way. This is where zooming in and out and just stretching the map to trying to get it to fit. This is using just control points, no scale. And as you can see, for every movement I make in one area on the map, how it affects other portions of the map. And you can just go kind of back and forth and methodically move this around. Zoom into other areas and check out those. So over here on the map, we really couldn't find anything that was in Google Earth. I don't see any discernible in the road layer in Google Earth. These look like all kind of backwood trails. So let's kind of zoom in here, adjust opacity. All right, and now I can see things trying to line up. This red line here is actually this road, an unmarked road in Google Earth. So now I can try to stretch the map out to meet that. Zoom in here and see this little area and see if I can stretch this around to kind of get that to line up. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stretch this map around, and we'll catch up when I'm done. But I think you'll get the idea here that just moving these, using these kind of either from the corners up and down, and trying to get that map to line up with control points that you have, already in Google Earth, and how adjusting the opacity can help you. All right, I screwed around with it for about another 10 minutes, manipulated the map around, stretching around, just using those two control points and kind of eyeballing, and we'll take a look. All right, so let's zoom in, and we'll look at some of these trails out here and these road systems, and let's drop the transparency down, and you can see that they line up pretty darn good. When you start doing this a bunch, you'll see that, at some point you got to just say, all right, this is good enough for navigation. Let's look up here at the 14 and the 78. It's off just a little bit. I mean, it could use a little bit more tweaking. You can see the aqueduct's kind of lined up pretty good. Some of these roads are off a little bit. Again, you could go around and keep tweaking and tweaking, but like I said, it's hard a lot of times, depending on how these maps were made, and to get everything to line up perfectly. But again, for navigation, it's definitely going to get you going in the right direction. All right, so when you're done with it, the next thing you want to do is just hit OK. All right, it's georeferenced the way I want it. And now it's got this Jawbone AEC trail map. I'm going to hit Save Place As. And I'm going to choose KMZ. And now that I've saved this as a KMZ, I can bring this into ATAC and it will render just how it is right here. All right, in this second segment, we're going to use that same map, but use the scale bar to help set the scale quickly. We're also going to use the public land survey system as another reference point. If you've got anything that's got a grid on it, MGRS, UTM, or Latin long ticks on the map, and you can use those as control points, definitely helpful to get these imagery or these maps lined up. One thing I also want to show you is that when you bring in the image overlay, Google Earth wants to fill the entire map north to south, and then it will kind of scale east to west, so or top to bottom, left to right. And I'll show you that here. We'll go back to add. I hit image overlay, and we'll bring in that map, the Jawbone map. You can see it filled this whole area, north to south, and then scaled in east to west or left to right. I can hit cancel here. And if I zoom in back down to where we were working before in the actual Jawbone area, and then I do it, and I hit add, hit image overlay. You see it's just going to fill this area. We'll use that same map. All right, so we've got it in this area. Let's rename it Jawbone ACEC trail map. And while I've got this open, I want to kind of show you some things with the shift key. So in the first segment, we used these corners to stretch the map, and it showed you how you could stretch one corner without it stretching the entire map. You can move the map around. If I hold the shift key down and I stretch this corner, it stretches it equally. And that is what we're going to do to get the scale bar correct. So I'm going to hit OK. I haven't altered the map at all, stretch it one way or the other. It's equal. We're going to come up here. We've got this scale bar. What I am going to do is get north facing up. Let's go back a little bit. One more. All right, we're up and straight up and down now for the most part. And now we are going to use the ruler, and I'm going to draw a line equal to one of these distances on this map. I'm just going to use the 1 mile. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to go out a mile. And so a mile, so I'm going to get it right on a mile. Perfect, I've got a mile. I'll click save, and now I'll just call it our 1 mile line. All right, I've got a 1 mile line. Click OK. And now we're going to activate the map again and then stretch it to get this scale bar equaling a mile. So hit get info. Move this aside, and now I can use that shift key what I'll do is I just keep using the shift key, and then I can move the map back down. Remember, I'm not getting the map to any control points right now. All I'm doing is stretching the map to get the scale correctly. We'll use the move function here to kind of move it to some of those control points that we'd used before. We had that 14 and 178 and 14 to Red Rock Road. Right now, all we're doing is working on the scale. I'll keep hitting shift, stretching the map out, moving it back, and trying to get this to 1 mile. And once I get it done, I'll get it back. I will get back to you. All right, pretty close here. Let's zoom in and see how we are. Yep, that is just about a mile. I could probably have one more small tweak on it. And we'll move the map around and take a look. But yeah, that is just about at a mile. All right, so now that we've got the scale correctly, and again, it's not going to be perfect, but it will be pretty close. Now we can move the map around. We know this is the 14 of Red Rock Road. Here's the 14 of Red Rock Road marker. I can start moving the map as a whole to that area. And we'll move this up. And then there's that 14 and 178. All right. And so it's not perfect, so we'll use the move a little bit. So we get that moved over. So it's not perfect, but it's pretty close. And so this is just a nice initial step to getting things, instead of stretching the map all over, an initial step to get it kind of scaled correctly. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on this public land survey system. And now if I scroll down on the map, I can see that I've got these grid lines already on here. And that's going to help me get things lined up even better. So I can zoom in here. And now I know which way I need to move. So what I'm going to do first is just kind of move the map around. So I'll activate the map. Click get info. We'll activate it. And now let's try to line some of this up here. I'll start at the top. I can see this triangle shape here. Let's see if I move the map around. Let's see how things fit. And I can see already that although it's pretty close to scale, some tweaks need to be made to the map. I can stretch the map out a little bit to the right. I may have to rotate the map just a little. And where I'm concentrating right now is kind of this corner right here. So I can scroll up to the top. And it looks like I may have to stretch the map a little there. Move things up. So I'll mess around with it and I'll get back to you guys when I got it all dialed in. All right, I'm done messing around with it. I focused on the public land survey system grid I didn't focus too much on these other two control points I had. This really goes to show if you've got a grid line on a map and you can get that into Google Earth, or a lat long that you can drop into Google Earth that's on the map, that can really be helpful. So if it's US National Grid that you can bring in, UTM, or like I said, a lat long marker that you can kind of line out, that's definitely helpful. These grid lines make it really easy. So I'll zoom in and kind of show you. Focused on this triangle grid, got it pretty lined up, and you could see that just by doing that, it got the roads pretty lined up. These grid lines here, as they come down, really lined up the roads well. Whoops, I hit the rotate arrow. We'll just rotate that right back. And then you can see if I drop the opacity here, things lined up pretty well just using the grid lines. Now, of course, I could go back in and make some tweaks. So started off with getting it to scale using the scale bar, and then moved it into place with these first two control points, and then turned on the grid, and then started doing some fine tuning with the grid. On a map like this, it could probably take me 20 minutes to half hour to get things kind of perfect. On something larger, it could take a little bit longer. If you don't have any good discernible control points, it could take you up to an hour to kind of really dive into the map and find features in Google Earth to kind of match up. So now that we're done here, let's hit OK. And we are going to go ahead and set this back, opacity up. We're going to do the same thing, save place as the Jawbone AC trail map. We'll save it as a KMZ. I'll replace the one I had before. And now I'm going to put it up in the Google Drive and bring it down into my Android device and render an ATAC. All right, I'm back in ATAC, and I've downloaded that Jawbone KMZ we made, the Georeference KMZ map, from my Google Drive on a device. So now I'm going to go to the Import Manager, go to my local SD, hit date, and there's that Jawbone ACC trail map. I'm going to hit OK. It's going to ask me, I want to bring in as an image overlay. I want to drape this on top of the base map. And then once it's complete, I should get a notification that it was imported. And it's going to live right around here, and there it goes. So now that map is now living in ATAC. You can see that that saving it at that 300 DPI really makes a big difference. And now let's see how well it's georeference. All right, so let's grab that kind of 178 and 14 marker. You can see you got a CHB marker there from our KML network link from the CHB CAD. So I'm assuming it's a road closure. Yep, due to the storm. All right. So now we're going to go to this image overlay. One of the cool things about TAC is you can change the transparency. So I'm going to click on it, get the transparency. And now let's take a look and see how well. Yep, it is spot on. right where that road closure is, right where in Google Maps in ATAC shows the 178 and the 14 is right where it's at on the map. We can go up here kind of these to this area too and see how well it did. Yeah, pretty good on that turn. And then we can look at these other roads as well. Let's go down here. And pretty close to Kelso Valley Road as well. So for navigation, definitely usable. And we'll go ahead and turn the opacity back up all the way. So I hope this video was helpful in showing how to use Google Earth as a way to georeference non-geospatial maps and imagery. It's not for the faint of heart. It can get frustrating. Sometimes I have just stretched that map so many different ways that I'll never go back the way it started. So sometimes I'll just start over. That is another tip. You can always bring that original file back in and start over. Feel free to comment in the comments if you've got any other tips or other tools that can help people use georeference, non-georeference imagery and maps. Thanks for watching.